This local marketing update is brought to you by Scott Gallagher. Scott is the co-founder of Local Marketing Source and has become the recognized expert in providing online marketing services to local businesses. Follow Scott on Twitter at ScottGallagher5 and on Facebook.com/Scott P. Gallagher.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everyone. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, bringing your weekly local marketing industry update. Now, next week's Member faculty call is going to be Wednesday, June 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to listen and subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, as well as our channel on YouTube. Now, this week, we've got an interesting week of a few different updates to talk about, some confirmation of a few different things, and of course, results from the recent update. But just to go over this week's update that we're going to talk about, you've got to update your all-in-one SEO pack WordPress plugin. I'm going to talk about that and discuss why that's very important. Have some discussion about connecting your Google Plus business page to your Google Maps listing. Some additional updates on Panda 4.0 and what it has to do with press releases. China is back in the news with Google. The big battle is going on, and some interesting things happened in the last 24 hours in regards to the dictatorship of China, and we will say information democracy of Google. And then finally, Google is giving us direct answers with YouTube videos. What does that mean? So I guess based on that, the local business tip this week is going to be videos, and you will understand why when we go through the update. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. But first off, connect your Google Plus business page to your Google Maps listing. We know that this has been a ongoing challenge. Google's made it very difficult. About a month ago, they amalgamated their databases into one. And essentially now you definitely want to connect them. I'm just going to go over a couple of different steps here. And well, first off, you obviously want to log into Google and then go ahead on the left-hand side, choose Pages, and then choose the local page that you want to work with, and then click on the Manage This Page. Well, the page is going to look a lot like the page that's live, but it's going to include something called a verification shield on it next to the name of the page. And you will see either verified local business or verify this business. Now, when you're on that page in the top left corner, go to your dashboards and then click on settings. And then you scroll down to the profile section of your settings. And then next to that, you're going to see this page is connected to Google Maps. Well, go ahead and click on a different page and connect to a different page. In that, you're going to see link to a different page on this section in the dialog box. And just go ahead and pick the page that you want to connect Maps to and click the next button. You're going to see a list describing the changes to the newly created page when you're connected to on Maps. And this is the Google Plus local page that you're disconnecting from Maps. Just go ahead and click the confirm button and wait. It will take up to 2 weeks to get this done and have it go through and have it verified by an individual, but the process seems to be fairly seamless now to connect these together. All right, so Panda 4.0, we had an update. We were talking about it last week. I think the update was probably 7, 8, 9 days ago. Well, here's it right in my notes, 9 days ago. Google released Panda 4.0. And if we recall, Panda was the update in Google to filter out, we will call thin content, or content that is garbage. It's just not good content. And so how does a computer determine what's good and what isn't? And we've talked about all the different factors. Well, as these updates come out, the SEO community will publish winners and losers as an update comes out. And we're able to see what types of sites are big losers and why. Well, in this case here, PR, press release websites got a big hit. Now, in the last 2 years, PR marketing has been the big thing for SEO. And anytime there's a new big thing, you've got to take a different look at it. And, press releases are important. So there's value to it. But when you start to see sites like PR Newswire and prweb.com, like prweb.com, for example, had a 71% drop in its traffic. Businesswire.com saw a 60% drop. PRNewsWire.com saw a 63% drop in its traffic after this was updated. What people were doing is creating press releases and distributing them to these sites and getting authority for it and helping their ranking. Well, from a marketing perspective, what value does that really have for the end user? I'm located in Algonquin, Illinois. How many people in Algonquin, Illinois are going to prlog.org? Have you ever gone there to prlog.org to read information, hoping to find a press release for a local business? Probably not likely. And how do press releases get published? Now, when we've talked about our strategy at LMS for doing press releases, we just got to look at the old school way. It's press release. It's information for the press, for the media. Who is the media? Who are the big players in your area? Who are the big newspaper providers, the free newspaper providers? The guys that print offline, that have been in distribution for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That's who locals read. That's the information that these websites are pulling from. If you read Google News as your news reader, you think Google's got a team of journalists? No, of course not. They're just pulling information from other websites. Do you think CNN has journalists in every single city across the country? If there's some big news that's national and it's newsworthy, to go on CNN, you think they've got somebody individual in Algonquin, Illinois, or the northwest suburbs of Chicago? Probably not, because they get information from local journalists. Well, good press release marketing is going to the people that have relevance to them. In other words, the local journalists. And creating content that's press-worthy for a local business is kind of difficult, but it can be done, and you can get it published. You may not get published in your top newspaper, but none of these newspapers saw a drop. It's only these sites that have been created to house press release information that, in theory, what they say is that journalists go to these websites to get their content. Well, close your eyes, close the door, turn off the lights, go into that dark room that I always talk about and think about that. There could be 100 different PR sites that are out there. You think journalists are struggling for press release content, that they're having to go to these sites and grab it for local businesses? They've got enough content, and they don't want to continually press release is free advertising. They're in business to make money. So they're getting information from the local chamber of commerce and local businesses and whatnot. So it makes complete sense that Google is not going to give authority to these PR sites. Well, how is that any different than the days of article marketing? Remember 2007, if you were in SEO, everybody was just article marketing and doing it all the wrong way. PR marketing, how is that any different than article marketing? It's the same thing, but our industry has a whole new label on it. And this is the new big thing. Well, bullshit. It's not. So it's no surprise. The only surprise I find in this is that it took until June of 2014 for Google to disregard press releases. You think they would have had some people smart enough in their engineering department to recognize that the strategies of PR marketing are the same as article marketing that they tried to kill in 2009, 4 years ago. So for your SEO efforts, I'm just saying, be careful. If you're utilizing a WordPress site, which a lot of people are, As you know, there's plugins that we get for it, and there's a variety of different plugins. One of the plugins I recommend is from Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T. They've got one called All-in-One SEO Pack. It is one of the more popular ones out there. Go into your WordPress tonight and all your clients' websites and have that updated. The reason being is there's a vulnerability that was just discovered where, well, basically people can get in, and you need to get the update so hackers can't get in. And make sure you do that, because I've had my own sites hacked, and I say sites plural, on multiple occasions over the last 8 years, as well as client sites. So make sure stuff is properly backed up and you do your updates. But get in there and get that plugin updated immediately. Now some fun news about China. It was interesting. We were just talking about it this morning in the office. But I guess we're approaching the 25th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. I'm going to go and research that and learn about what that is tonight, because Google, every time around this type of year, China has traditionally shut down a lot of their internet because the Chinese are searching for that information, and Chinese obviously don't want their people to get certain information. So in the last 24 hours, China has taken Google censorship to a whole new level. In the past, they've blocked just search, but yesterday they blocked everything, including Gmail, Calendar, the Translate feature, the search feature, a whole variety of different products. And so this is historic and monumental. I don't like to talk a lot about politics, but it also scares me, because China, in my opinion, is going to be the superpower of the world in my lifetime. It could happen in 10 years, the way things are going, and the way that certain charts and growth rates and that's a whole different conversation. But they're a major player, and they're not a democracy. And again, I'm not opening up the discussions as to what really is a democracy and do we really live in a free country or not, but I digress. China is definitely not a free country, and they are being blocked of vital democratic information. Now, on a little bit of a conspiracy end, I have a little bit of fun. Google was down today, guys. You know that? Google was down this morning. And what China has said, let me pull this up. Yeah, it says right here, the Chinese government denies that it is blocking or disrupting Google and seeks to assign blame to Google for the interruption. Well, they've traditionally done this, and they did this in the last 24 hours again. They say, oh, it's Google's fault. It's Google's fault. Well, it's not Google's fault, because after it was last year, I don't have this in my notes. Last year, the same thing happened, and then Google came out and publicly said that the Chinese government was responsible for hacking Gmail. And this is where it is here. As China and Google have been at odds since the government first tried hacking into Gmail to obtain information on dissidents and democracy activists. So I wonder if Google being down today has something to do with the Chinese government. Wouldn't that be crazy? Google is almost like the Titanic, in terms of their technology and in terms of their security. I find Google so amazing, because one character change in their algorithm could literally change the hands of billions of dollars in a 24-hour period. Can you imagine, or try to imagine, the amount of money that Google is funneling to different hands in one given day with all of its searches for e-commerce sites? And I mean, it's staggering, the concept that these 23-year-olds are running a major portion of the gross domestic product in the United States and around the world. And what I say about a character change is if they have one character that's wrong in their algorithm and it provides different results than what they were looking for, and anybody that's worked with websites before knows that one little character can take a whole website down. It's amazing that one character can control so much. So there's a lot at stake, right? So it's kind of amazing that the biggest, fastest growing company in the world that likely has the most public control on the economy goes down this morning. Is that almost staging war if China, who's not an ally of the United States, is responsible for taking down an entity that has got the largest hold on the US economy? Yeah, I open that door up. I don't know if it's true. Um, I'm just completely speculating and just looking at the facts in the last 24 hours, but I think it's kind of interesting. And, history repeats itself. So let's see what's going to come out in the news in the next couple of days on this. There's definitely going to be people that are taking it a lot farther than me in terms of the conspiracy and suggesting that unequivocally that China is responsible for it. Frankly, I can't change anything, so it's not that important to me, but something fun to talk about. And lastly, new results in the SERPs. You may have seen this before. You go do a search right now for Florida sex crime lawyer. And what you're going to get is a Feinblum and Hanel video. That's a video of attorneys in Florida, and it's a image. The very first result in the organic SERP, and it's an image of a video that you click on, and it takes you directly to YouTube. Now, what we've seen in the last year, anybody a sports fan that's on the line, go and type your team in to Google. I've been, well, up until a few days ago, utilizing Google to go and type in Blackhawks. And it gives me everything I need to know. I've used it for the Sochi Olympics. I just type in Sochi Olympics. And I don't have to go to any third-party site. I just type in weather. Another one I've been using, set timer for 1 hour. And these are all tools that are built inside of Google that give us the information right on Google without having to go to a third-party site. And they're actually pretty good. I know with the Olympics, they offered to me a better experience to get the information I was looking for than going to the official website. For the NHL, as a hockey fan, it's much cleaner and easier to get the information that I'm looking for other than going to NHL.com. The weather, same thing. You just type in weather and zip code. You don't even have to type in a zip code. It knows your location. So Google has been working tirelessly and hard to give us the information. And we've talked about this as the knowledge graph, where Google is giving direct answers by building their knowledge graph. The Facebook's version is the social graph. By building their knowledge graph to answer questions. And that when I start talking about search engines answering questions, that's when I start thinking about and realizing how far away we are from having a good search engine. There's not a good search engine, in my opinion, on the planet today. And they're far from it. A search engine is what? It's to give us the most relevant information that we're looking for. That's it. That's the entire job of a search engine, to give us the most relevant. But when you start discussing what's relevant information, God, I could talk forever about what's highly relevant and what's not. But us as human beings, in the last 20 years, we've had to change our entire thought process as human beings. Because when we want to go buy something, we're solving a need or we're answering a question. It's what we're doing. Everything, the way our mind processes stuff, is when we develop a theory or hypothesis. It's because we're asking or answering a question. And so our desire for information all comes around our innate need to have answers to questions. Well, a search engine is there to provide us answers, but we're not asking it questions. We're putting in key points to that question. So, weather. Maybe when I put in weather into Google, I want to ask the question, what is the weather today for my area? And Google makes assumptions on that and answers our particular question. Ask.com, or formerly AskJeeves.com, tried to go through that process of answering questions, but they just never nailed down their algorithm. To effectively do that, well, that opens up a whole nother world. The challenge to be able to accomplish that. For example, I asked the question, what's the best Italian restaurant in Algonquin, Illinois? Well, what is the best Italian restaurant? How do you evaluate it? Is best mean the best price, the best value for your money, the best flavor, the best atmosphere, the best service? Well, they've got to make decisions and put weights on it. As they learn about me, they know that, okay, what if they knew about me, that I'm really old school about service, but I don't need over-the-top food. I'm just looking for good home cooking. So Quicia Bella down the street is going to be the best Italian restaurant for me. But now my buddy Ian, well, we could turn around and make fun of him. We'll call him a fart sniffer sometimes because of his beer. But he may particularly like certain food in a specific way and prepare it a specific way and utilize high-end olive oils and high-end pastas and whatnot. And so the place down the street would not be considered best to him. So the term best as well is also very arbitrary to the individual. And that's why Facebook has got access to what they call their social graph. A lot of information about us as individuals to tailor specific results. What do we mean by best? The next aspect is, I should have written some of this stuff down because I'm just going off the top of my head here, but this is a lot of stuff. This is the stuff I think about sometimes going to bed at night. And the other aspect is it is as a community, as a whole. Well, we could rate a business with 5 stars or 3 stars or 1 star. And we can go and ask 100 people to get them the rate, and then we'll get a collective idea as to what best is. But of course, that is going to be skewed based off of personal preferences as well. So the search engines are constantly trying to learn and tweak human behavior, and specifically what humans are looking for when they put in certain words or certain phrases or whatnot to give the best, most relevant information. Well, with embedded search or Google directly answering questions gives us a great opportunity for local businesses. One thing in marketing that I try to emphasize and identify that's being missed in internet marketing is segmenting our customers and understanding our segment base. Just think about this. I just thought of an analogy this morning. And drive around your local town, and you're going to see vans for plumbers, garage door companies. You're going to see vans that are HVAC, window guys. You're going to see a lot of vans that are very, very specific. How many vans do you see driving around that are general contractors or handyman services? I'm going to guess that you're going to see a lot more individuals that are specialized than those people that are jack of all trades. I'm just going to guess that. I know I see that around my area. I also know I can pick up a phone book and know that the yellow page section is a lot bigger with all the different specialized companies that are out there as opposed to the jack of all trades. Now, I know many handyman people, and they're just as good as of a plumber as the plumber down the street that says he's a plumber. But there's reasons why there's so many specialized businesses. It's because people buy from it. There's a perceived aspect to it, right? So when we're segmenting our customers and we're branding our business and we're two chiropractors against each other, if I'm that chiropractor that tries to be both a pain management specialist and a wellness specialist, I don't appear to be an expert in any area. That's why businesses have to effectively brand themselves in their specific niche. And the deeper you go into that niche, the better off you're going to be. And your target audience is going to find you. It's going to reduce your closing rates. It's going to increase um, your ability to command a greater revenue or a greater charge. So your margins are going to be significantly higher. Your production's going to be lower. It's just a better business model. And those are the businesses that survive, right? Where am I going with all of this? I hope you went and did that search that I asked you to do, Florida sex crime lawyer, because you're going to find a video. Sex crime lawyer. Think about attorneys. How many different attorneys that are out there? You've got an attorney that's specifically focusing in on sexual crimes. It's a horrible example to be utilizing, but it's an example of a client, and I see the results. And but these are attorneys that are there to help pedophiles and rapists and the worst of the worst. What percentage of the population ever has to go and find a sex crime attorney? Well, I don't personally know a soul that has had to go and find an attorney for that service. So it's a very, very, very niche area. But what we are seeing with the search engines is these niche searches. In other words, for doctors, it's going to be symptom-based or ailments. We call it in the internet marketing world long tail keywords. There's now an opportunity to cannibalize the real estate on a SERP with these longer tail searches. And in my opinion, these searches are going to come up when we talk about core keywords. If you remember with keywords, you've got your core term, you've got your core modifier, and you've got your geomod. All keywords have those three components to it, or at least two of the three components. Or no, not necessarily. But my point is you're not going to have any more of those components than a core term. All keywords have a core term. And then there's your geomod, your geographical modifier, a zip code or a city or a state. And then your core modifier. Chiropractor and chiropractic, for example, are going to be your core terms. Scoliosis chiropractor, scoliosis is going to be your core modifier. Scoliosis is a treatment and can be argued to be a symptom. So that's why I argue that all symptoms and treatments for our doctors are all the core modifiers that are going to go into the keyword list. When you've identified those core modifiers, you create content relevant to those core modifiers, like Florida sex crime lawyer. What type of content is showing up here, guys? How long have I been talking about the importance of video? The video is going to be more and more important. This is hardcore evidence in the last week that I'm right. But I don't want to pat myself on the back. This is just obvious because video has got more influence of human behavior than anything you could write or any images or any audio that you could create. Just look at television viewing habits and radio listening habits and newspaper readership. 2 of the 3 have declined as the third technology has emerged. So it's ludicrous to think that that's not going to happen on the internet. It's already happened over the last 110 years. So video is important for small business. And Google is going to reward those businesses that are utilizing video to properly communicate their messages to their prospects. Whew. I could go on, guys. As you know, I should bring beer into the office on Wednesdays. Then I'll really get going. I have a fridge in here. Then I'd have to take a cab home. So I'm going to take 30 seconds and shut this down and come back and ask any questions for LMS students that you may have.
Well, thanks for watching the Local Marketing Industry Update. We've got these things coming out every single week, so if you liked with what you heard, just click the button right above me right here to subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to get a little bit more, right over here, go check out localmarketingsource.com. We've got free reports that you can grab. You can even register for a free marketing course to get in and see the portal. Or just go ahead and follow us on some of the social channels. We'll be around. Until next time.